Yo, 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 y'all, what's going on? This your boy Great Vibes on 10. This your boy Great Vibes on 10 for the win, man. Listen, y'all. Listen here, y'all. We got a good one on today. Y'all, we got a good one on today. All right. I told y'all I wasn't going to keep my. See, listen, y'all, I had to take a few days off. Number one is y'all get on my nerves. Everybody that be watching my platform, everybody that be donate to the platform, everybody that be tapping the live, all of y'all get on my nerves. Why? It's because when I say I have to doo-doo, y'all don't tell me, Great Vibes, go to the bathroom and doo-doo. Y'all say, stay your black ass right there and let's continue this live. Liz, how you doing? Good to see you, sweetheart. Randy, good to see you in the building. Variety, y'all. Variety is y'all. When I tell y'all that young lady right there, don't play with her. She ain't the one to be met. She be like, Great Vibes, why you answer my text messages back? Variety be like, the next time I send you a email and you don't email back, we not gonna be emailing again. So get the emailing. Because her emailing is different than my emailing, so we both get the emailing and everything is cool. How you doing, Variety? Good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. All right. I know you did, Variety. Good to see y'all. Queen, is good to see you. Duval, good to see you in the building. Listen, y'all, let everybody know that your boy Great Vibes on 10 for the win is live. Once again, I told y'all I wasn't keeping my foot off her neck. They have yet to reach out to me to have a interview. You reach out to everybody else, but you don't reach out to your boy Great Vibes. You reach out to all these, well, it's not a lot. It's really not a lot. But you reach out to other content creators. But you don't reach out to me. You know why you won't reach out to me, Allie, Shelly? It's because y'all enjoy content creators that's not going to challenge your stories. Y'all are not going to sit behind the mic with no one that's going to challenge every single ideology, concept, and lie that y'all threw out here to the public. You ain't going to do it. So guess what Great Vibes going to do? I'm going to keep my foot on your neck until you reach out. So you can call me you can call me a pedo, you can call me a sorry excuse for a man. Congratulations. Welcome to social media. When you put bullshit out, expect bullshit in return. Even when you put out good stuff, expect bullshit in return. It's social media. Get the fuck over it. But young lady, you took this shit too damn far. Too motherfucking far. You had a clip that you put out about 4 years ago. About 4 to 5 years ago. And it took a lot of people by storm, especially the older couple. Melanie, good to see you, sweetheart. You came out with a clip and you told people that you experienced baby farming. You told this camera, right? Whoever the hell you was talking to, you told these people or this person, because Shelly was in the room with you doing this interview, and I'm finna show the interview. You experienced baby farming.
Some of the children that are there.
Hold on, let me bring it up so y'all can see it. I'm gonna go ahead and get right into it because we got some stuff to cover. So, because the first interview Allie did with that young lady, she said people have her content on the internet, and she said that people be lying on her, and some of her content be AI. AI. All right? Listen to this, y'all. Hold on, let me rewind it.
Some of the children that are there.
What are some of the children that are there? Meaning, y'all. Thank you, Variety. Thank you. All right. What are some of the children that are there? Meaning, she's telling this story as if she was there.
Some of the children that are there.
Babies. There's a baby farm that exists. There's all ages. There's kids who don't act like kids. They act like wild animals. They hiss at you. They act like wild animals. They've never. I know some of them have been there since probably birth or before. There's children of all ages. There's people who have been there since they were babies, but they're adults now.
And how long do they stay there? Till what age?
I don't know. Till whatever happens to them happens, and whatever their time is. There's baby farms that exist underground. Your hospitals are complicit in giving babies to baby farms. And when I say, I'm talking newborn babies fresh out of the hospital, that people take pride in raping, having sex with, hearing their bones crack, eating, using them to participate in rituals. I've seen a lot of things, and I've seen a lot of my friends die. There's so much that goes on.
It's rituals. She's seen a lot of her friends die. We're going to play it again. I thought I had her video up, but I didn't transition it over for you all to see it, so I do apologize for that. But I will play the clip again so she won't think this is AI speaking. Matter of fact, fuck it. All right, she think this is AI speaking. Let's do it again. Sorry, y'all. My bad.
There's so much that.
Hold on, let's go.
Some of the children that are there.
Babies. There's a baby farm that exists.
A whole baby farm.
There's all ages. There's kids who don't act like kids. They act like wild animals.
Wild earth.
They hiss.
Why we can't never get rid of Rufus? There are kids that act like Rufus. Why Rufus will always make his way into the picture. There are children that act like wild. They are acting like wild animals. We cannot ever get away from Rufus. Rufus always find his ass back in the damn picture. Rufus.
They they act like wild animals.
Yeah.
They've never, I know some of them have been there since probably birth or before. There's children of all ages. There's people who have been there since they were babies, but they're adults now.
Yeah. I want y'all to listen on how she explains this baby farming. Kids that was there and now they was adults. It's certain rituals that goes on. Listen to these key words. And when I put all this shit together, by the end of this stream, y'all gonna say, motherfucking you great vibes. Now I see why I subscribe to your dumb ass channel. We on TikTok because we in jail right now. Y'all, we don't get out of jail on TikTok till Friday. So right now y'all stuck with me over here, just over on here on YouTube. But I couldn't play this clip right here anyway on TikTok because they'll ban the page. All right, let's continue.
And how long do they stay there? Till what age?
I don't know. Till whatever happens to them happens, and whatever their time is. There's baby farms that exist underground. Your hospitals are complicit in giving babies to baby farms. And when I say
it's baby farms under your hospitals. It's baby farms under your schools. It's baby farms in the tunnels that we took a ride through last week. It's baby tunnels. And Rufus was with us.
I'm talking newborn babies fresh out of the hospital, that people take pride in raping, having sex with, hearing their bones crack, eating, using them to participate in rituals.
Rituals.
I've seen a lot of things, and I've seen a lot of my friends die.
A lot of her friends die.
There's so much that goes on.
All right. That's the ending of that particular clip. Now, she said that she was there. She witnessed her friends die. She said that these baby farms are up under your schools, up under your hospitals. It's in these tunnels, right? And she was there. And somehow she survived this baby farming. Allie, I guess that was an AI of you saying that. All right. So last night, I took the time out to go back and look at this video. I wrote down some keywords, and your boy Great Vibes did his research. Put a 1 in the comments if you're ready for this. Put a 1 in the comments if you are ready for this. Boy. Fat Boo! How you doing? Good. I need everybody. We only got 20 people in here. I need everybody to participate. Put a 1 in the chat. Y'all, where these crowns come from? That's pretty dope. Y'all ready? Okay. Happy Cat. Happy Cat. Fat Boo, Melanie, Notary, Jamie. Southern, good to see you. All right, y'all. Look at this here. Stephanie, good to see you. So look at this, right? So I did my research about this baby farming, right? And here in this article, it talks about it was a historical practice of accepting custody of an infant or child in exchange for payment in the late Victorian British times. In the late Victorian British times. in the late Victorian British times. Okay, let's proceed. Britain and less commonly in Australia, New Zealand, and the United States. If the infant was young, this usually include wet nursing, which is breastfeeding. But this wet nursing wasn't from the biological mother. Some baby farmers adopted children for lump sum payments, while others care for infants for periodic payments, aka not child, what we call it now, y'all, was on the fucking edge of y'all, CPS, foster homes. So before there were foster homes, there were baby farming. Baby farming, with the change of a lot of laws and a lot of stipulations and all this stuff, now we have foster care. All right. The use of foster care in the 18th century Britain by middle-class parents, who was described by Clary Tolman, whatever that name is, in her biography of Jane Austen, who was fostered in the 1760s in this manner, as were all her siblings, from where they were only a few months older until they was toddlers. Tomalian emphasizes emotional distance this created. I'm going to pause right there. Allie said that she was part of this baby farming. She also said that she witnessed a few of her friends being unalive. I'm not on TikTok. Being killed. I want y'all to pay attention to this. I scoured the internet, right, for hours, for fucking hours, to try to get this shit together for you all. I scoured the internet, right, and I came across this. I came across this young lady. All right. This article I was reading, barely even started reading. This content creator by the name of Summer Sanchez, don't know who she is, but I listened to her break this stuff down, and you're going to hear her mention certain names that ties into the Allie's army. You're going to hear this woman mention some stuff about this baby farming that's going to tie in to the Allie's army and the 90s nations. I told you, Allie, ma'am, I told your ass to leave me the fuck alone. I'm going back to all of your fucking videos and I'm exposing your ass. Coming on the internet talking about you was with Diddy. Talking about you was with Snoop Dogg. Shitty, bang, bang. Fucking liar. Listen to this young lady. You said that lady may be your cousin. For real? Shaggy? For real? Okay. All right, y'all. Pay attention. Put your headphones on. Put your earmuffs on. Turn your volume up. If you're watching me on the TV, turn that motherfucker up. Because, listen, y'all, this whole baby farmer that Allie talks about, and swear she was part of? Oh, okay.
If you end up liking this video.
Hold on. I'm getting double feedback. That's not going to happen.
It's been a long time since I've done a heinous history case, so today we're going all the way back to 19th century England. And we're going to be talking about the practice of baby farming, which emerged in the late Victorian era. The practice of baby farming was looked at as a solution for young unwed mothers back then. There were essentially no laws protecting unwed mothers, and actually they were looked down on by pretty much all of society, and it was very hard for them to even gain employment. And sadly, there were a lot of people who took advantage of the desperation of these women. The baby farmers would take in these children and accept either a lump sum payment or a weekly payment made by the birth mother. But instead of actually caring for the child and raising them in a loving home like they promised, they would take the money and then the children would just disappear. There was one person in particular who not only got rid of these children for monetary gain, but by her own admission, she also just did it out of enjoyment. This woman has been referred to as the angel maker and also the ogress of Reading, but her actual name was
The angel maker. She was referred to as the angel maker. Allie's angels. The angel maker. Allie's angels. That young lady right there. Listen, y'all. Look, Lee. Yo, listen, Liz, boy, y'all, she crazy. I told you, Allie, Shelly, the only thing y'all gotta do is reach out to me. You can email me at greatvibesonten@gmail.com. Reach out to me and let's have a sit down and let's talk on the internet. You brought your shit to the internet, let's talk on the internet. But until then, I'm going to slowly uncover all of y'all lies. Told you don't fuck with me. Let's rewind it just a little bit more. Allie's angels. I don't know why I was getting that feedback. I don't understand it. I don't.
and then the children would just disappear.
Wait. Okay, there. Okay, I was looking at the wrong stuff. My bad, y'all. I was looking at the wrong stuff. So y'all, okay, you can't hear me. But why am I getting double feedback on this video? Hold on, y'all.
And actually, they were
Got it. I see it.
looked down on by pretty much all of society, and it was very hard for them to even gain employment. And sadly, there were a lot of people who took advantage of the desperation of these women. The baby farmers would take in these children and accept either a lump sum payment or a weekly payment made by the birth mother. But instead of actually caring for the child and raising them in a loving home like they promised, they would take the money and then the children would just disappear. There was one person in particular who not only got rid of these children for monetary gain, but by her own admission, she also just did it out of enjoyment. This woman has been referred to as the Angel Maker and also the Ogress of Reading, but her actual name was Amelia Dyer, and she is one of Victorian England's most prolific serial killers. This case is not going to be for everyone. Obviously, we will be
Did I just read that to you all? Right? Where is it? Did I just, boy, my black ass, boy, don't fuck with great vibes. You must forget what I used to do. This is what, right? This is what she's talking about, okay? All right? Now, of course, you know, they changed certain laws. I mean, that happens throughout history, right? I guess for the best interest of children and for the best interest of the family. So you had certain stuff that was being changed. But right here, like in the newspaper, if you could see my mouse, this right here was in 1892. They used to advertise that baby farmers John and Sarah Macklin, a.k.a. the Hampton murderers, responded to. So in the papers back then, in the 18th century, they used to put ads out. Wanted, kind lady to adopt baby boy 2 months for life. Premium, Miss Terry, Fleotis, Summer H. I guess that's what their names. So this how they used to put out info or to communicate, hey, I need somebody to pick up this child, right? We can't afford them. We don't want them. Hey, pretty much what the fucking foster system is doing now. All right? Well, they was baby farmers. Same thing.
Talking a lot about dark, disturbing things involving children. So just please keep that in mind before you continue watching this video. And now let's just go ahead and jump into the case. Just really quick, I have two animals in here with me. So my cat Shadow, who is climbing over everything, and also my dog Marlin is laying at my feet. So if you...
Now, ma'am, that's not your dog Marlin. Ma'am, that is Rufus. Rufus, every time we talk about Allie, Rufus always finds his way somewhere near somebody. Rufus, y'all don't let this lady fool y'all. That's Rufus. That's Rufus. You said all hell no, the British are motherfucking coming. You asking who is this lady? Her name is Summer Sanchez. You can find her on YouTube. Right? You got several other documentaries that's out there about baby farming. But after reading this, me doing my research and looking at some of this context, a lot of people that's trying to push out this content, they're not being truthful, okay? They're adding their own personal agenda to this narrative. And you shouldn't do that, especially when you're talking about, you know, innocent little children, right? I'm not going to add my own, word into it. I'm not going to do that. What I think or how I feel, fuck that shit. No, we're going to go off what Allie said about these baby farms, and let's see where she got this shit from. So now y'all see where the angel terminology come from. That woman was a murderer. Allie's Angels. Allie's Angels. You're going to learn some shit over here with your boy Great Vibes.
You hear anything or see anything, it's them. It's Victorian England, 1832, and a piece of legislation has just been put into place called the New Poor Law. This new legislation made it legal for the biological fathers of illegitimate babies to walk away from the situation completely free of
Okay, so when she talk about the new poor law, I think that's the one. Yeah. So there was an 18. They call it the Poor Law Amendment Act 1834. So if you see here, if you can see my cursor, that's this right here. Okay, the Poor Law Act. Let me bring it up. Let's see. Yeah. So this is what she's speaking of here. You gonna learn some shit today. Yo ass gonna learn some shit today. Talking about talking about your ass was at a baby forum. Okay, we go see.
Any financial, moral, or societal impact to themselves. All of the stress and burden is now placed solely on the mother. This new law also makes it possible for the local parishes to deny any financial support to unwed mothers as well, meaning that the churches and the state who had once provided benefits to women and children like lodging and food were no longer legally responsible for that. The social stigma that was attached to being an
So as y'all can see with this baby farming, that would say, because baby farming doesn't exist anymore in this raw edition, right? In this form, baby farming doesn't exist. However, let's just say if it did exist, that means Miss Outlaw would have given up her parental rights to the orphanage, to a Catholic church, to the to adopted parents, 100% right at birth. BIRTH. Allie, you was at a baby farm? Okay.
unwed mother or an illegitimate child caused so much darkness in the lives of countless women and children. This was seen as a disease on the woman's reputation, and it was nearly impossible to recover from. These mothers were not only refused even the basic needs or minimal financial support from either the father or their local officials, but they were also denied even the lowest forms of employment. Very few people wanted to hire a person with such low moral standing. And this treatment sustained even after the woman gave birth. Her now damaged reputation was with her pretty much the rest of her life. A lot of women who found themselves in this situation had been employed as live-in housekeepers or domestic servants. They were oftentimes assaulted or seduced by their employers or members of their family. Then as soon as the pregnancy was discovered, the woman would be fired and then tossed out on the street to just figure things out for herself. Abortions were extremely dangerous at this time and also illegal, so a lot of women were not willing to go that route. Some would attempt to induce a miscarriage in various ways, and sometimes this would work, but oftentimes it didn't. Most women would do their best to hide these pregnancies so that their reputations and their livelihoods would not be affected, but eventually the baby would be born. Usually this would be done in secret with only a midwife present if they were lucky. Then a lot of times things would take a very dark turn. Sometimes the women would give birth in secret and then just leave their babies outside in the elements to starve or freeze to death. And sometimes these new mothers would kill their babies as soon as they were born. This was typically done by suffocation, drowning, and sometimes poisoning. Then the bodies would be discarded in either a river or a trash bin before anyone knew they had ever existed at all.
Did Allie tell you all that the pediatrician gave her some pills and drowned her in a bathtub? The young lady also mentioned being poisoned. How many times did Allie say, hey, my ex-boyfriend tried to poison me? That's why I was in a hospital. Things that make you go, Allie, I told you don't be fucking with me. The only thing your ass need to do is reach out to me. so we can have a talk over the internet. I told you, if you do that, I will stop. Until then, I'm going to keep my foot on your neck and expose all your bullshit. All that shit you've been putting on the internet, talking about you been here and you been there and you been every damn where. Okay.
All. These women were obviously desperate. Having a child out of wedlock would not only cost that woman employment opportunities and relationships with families and friends, but it would also make it extremely difficult for her to ever find a husband because now she's been labeled a whore by society. Now, even though it was very common for newborns to be killed or abandoned by their mothers, there were some women who, despite everything, really cared for their babies and they wanted to make the right choices for them. And these mothers became desperate for a solution to their problem. How could they ensure that their babies would live happy, healthy lives while also keeping their own reputation and livelihoods intact? And this dilemma is exactly what led so many unwed mothers to baby farmers. Baby farmers, who were usually women, accepted either a small weekly fee or a lump sum one-time payment for the care or adoption of young children. At this time, there were no laws regulating adoptions in Britain, and it would remain that way until 1926. The term baby farming carried negative connotations, and when that term was used to describe a care home, it usually meant that the children were living in overcrowded conditions where they were neglected, starved, and mostly just left to die. It was more lucrative for the baby farmers to accept the cash payments and then kill the children, either slowly by neglect and starvation or more deliberately by just physically murdering them. With the children now gone, the money wouldn't need to be spent on their care and the baby farmers could just pocket it all for themselves. In 1870, after the conviction and execution of one of the most heinous baby farmers in history, Margaret Waters, authorities and the media began to take a closer look at the industry. In an 1870 letter to the Times, a person who was conducting an undercover investigation into baby farming said, quote, "My conviction is that children are murdered in scores by these women, that adoption is only a fine phrase for slow or sudden death." This practice was unregulated in the beginning, but it became clear to authorities that there was a serious problem occurring in the homes of these baby farmers, and the Infant Life Protection Act of 1872 was passed. This law required that any person who was caring for more than one child under the age of 12 months for over a 24-hour period had to register with the state before accepting any children into their home. This would make it easier for authorities to keep a closer eye on the children who were in these homes. But baby farms still just continued to exist the way they always had. The baby farmers just had to find a way to be more discreet and stay under the radar. And scores of mothers would continue to seek the help of these women out of pure desperation. These mothers truly felt like they had nowhere else to turn. And that's exactly what led a woman named Evelina Marman to place an advertisement in the local newspaper in search of someone to raise her baby daughter Doris in 1896. Evelina Edith Marman was 25 years old and she had come to Cheltenham from the countryside and
we still in the 18th century. We're still in the 18th century, right? We're still in the 1800s, right? We're still in the 1800s, right? Unless Allie was born in the 1800s. Great vibes, you petty. Great vibes, you petty as hell. You petty, brother, you petty. Thank y'all for telling me that. I do apologize. Boy, my audio, boy. Can I explain to y'all what's going on? To control this live is this computer screen over here with the audio, the mic, TikTok audio, YouTube audio, the audio from my phone. All that shit is over here. And I have to mute certain sounds so y'all don't get a feedback on y'all end when certain videos play. This screen over here is where I'm playing Allie that y'all see above me. The screen over here is where I'm streaming to YouTube, right? This is what y'all see streaming. The screen right here below is where I show y'all with all the history on Google. My tablet that's in front, I got so much shit going on. Over here is a whole nother PC that I got playing the YouTuber, the young lady that y'all are watching. The screen above her is controlling her audio. So if y'all don't hear no sound, just drop it in the chat. Hey, Great Vibes, we don't hear it. I do apologize, and I will activate the sound. I'm sorry. Ain't nothing wrong with my Wi-Fi. Okay. All right. Let's go.
There's some of the children that are there.
Babies.
She was there.
There's a baby farm that exists
in the 18th century. Yeah, Allie, you was there.
There's all ages.
Yeah.
There's kids who don't act like kids. They act like wild animals.
You was there in the 1800s. In the 1800s.
They hiss at you. They act like wild animals.
Yeah. You know you was there.
I know some of them have been there since probably birth.
Yeah, you should know.
There's children of all ages. There's people who have been there since they were babies, but they're adults now.
That will make your ass about 175 years old. You was there.
How long do they stay there? Till what age?
She don't know. Because she wasn't there.
I don't know.
She don't know. She wasn't there.
Till whatever happens to them happens, and whatever their time is. There's baby farms that exist underground. Your hospitals are complicit.
The baby farms
babies to baby farms, and
the baby farms are underground. It's a whole baby farm going on underground. Somehow, your ass made it out. Somehow, you made it from the Diddy parties. Somehow, you made it out of those tunnels. Somehow, you made it back from Russia.
I'm talking newborn babies fresh out of the hospital. That people take pride in raping, having sex with, hearing their bones crack, eating, using them to participate in rituals. I've seen a lot of things, and I've seen a lot of my friends die. There's so much that goes on.
You watch your friends die. In the 1800s. Y'all, here we go. Let's do it. So your ass been to Russia, you been to Mexico, you been to the White House. Now your ass been to Great Britain. Your ass been to Great Britain now. I told y'all, don't Randy said she teleports and right, boy. All right, y'all, let's go.
In search of a more exciting life and just something more than her little farming town had to offer. She managed to find a small place to live, and her landlady, a woman named Martha Pocket, owned a bar, and she offered Evelina a job. So Evelina began working at the bar, and she was enjoying this new, more exciting life that she was building for herself. But in 1895, she became pregnant. We don't know who the father was, but we do know that he seemingly made absolutely no attempt to help Evelina in any way whatsoever. She was on her own to figure things out for herself and for her unborn child. Luckily for Evelina, Mrs. Pocket did allow her to remain living in her house during the pregnancy, and she eventually gave birth to a baby girl she named Doris on January 21st, 1896. And Evelina absolutely loved
Thank y'all again. Y'all listen. You know what? Thank y'all. Y'all are my fellow technicians. Thank you. So, why the fuck? Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all what I was saying. Hold on.
Pocket did allow her to remain living in her house during the pregnancy, and she eventually gave birth to a baby girl she named
I don't give a damn what nobody say. I don't give a damn what nobody say. That baby look old as hell. That the reason why it went the daddy wasn't there, the daddy damn near 85. That baby been here 4 times. That's an ugly ass baby. That baby, that's an old ass baby. Listen, y'all, I don't give a damn. Great value, you should be talking about kid. That's an ugly ass baby. Call me what you want. Call me what you want. Call me what you want. That's a baby. That baby daddy was the governor of Massachusetts back in 1733. That's somebody great uncle. That's somebody, boy, that baby, boy.
named Doris on January 24th.
Doris. That baby, Doris. Y'all know this shit old. Listen. Baby name is Doris. You can't, Doris. When's the last time your great grandmama name was Doris? Bertha. I'm telling y'all, Lurleen. These old last names, right? They come up with Martha. You can't make this shit up. They telling me to leave the baby alone. I'm going to leave the baby alone. Ugly baby. All right.
1st, 1896. And Evelina absolutely loved her daughter. She wanted to give her the best life possible, but she knew that she would not be able to do that if Doris remained in her care. Now, I couldn't find out if Mrs. Pocket was
See, y'all keep going in the comments. If y'all keep fueling me on, egging me on, I'm not Edna. Sylvia. Yeah, these old ass names. Oh, y'all, all y'all going to hell. all of y'all, and y'all get on me about saying some shit about these damn kids, but y'all gaslighting in the comments. Boy, boy.
Was going to allow Evelina to keep her job at the bar, but if she wasn't, then it would have been very hard for her to find employment anywhere else. And even if she did manage to find a job, she had no one to help her look after Doris. So Evelina made the hardest decision of her life. She would have to place Doris in the care of someone else, at least temporarily. In March of 1896, Evelina put an ad in the Bristol Times and Mirror newspaper that read, "Wanted, respectable woman to take young child at home. State terms to Mrs. Scott, 23 Manchester Street, Cheltenham." It's thought that Evelina used the alias of Mrs. Scott because she just wanted to sound more dignified. The next day or so, Evelina ran out to grab a copy of the newspaper to make sure that her ad had been printed, and it had. Then right next to her own ad, Evelina sees something that piques her interests. She spots a listing that read, quote, "Couple with no child, want care of or will adopt one, terms £10. And immediately, Evelina thinks that she has found the answer to all of her problems. She could place Doris in the care of this couple where she would be happy and well taken care of, and Evelina could go visit and maybe even one day be in the position to get her daughter back. Evelina responded to the ad, and she eventually hears back from a woman calling herself Mrs. Harding. In the correspondence, Mrs. Harding promised Evelina that Doris would be very well loved and cared for, and that she'd live in a beautiful home in the countryside. But instead of just taking care of Doris for a small weekly fee like Evelina had hoped, Mrs. Harding insisted on adopting her for a one-time payment of £10. But she promised Evelina that she would be welcome into their home anytime she wanted for a visit, and she reassured her that she was doing what was right for her daughter. Evelina was heartbroken over the thought of giving Doris up for adoption, but she also felt like she was really lucky to have found this couple that would help her out in this difficult time. So the two women made plans to meet up so that Evelina could sign papers and hand Doris over. On March 31st, 1896, Evelina packed up some of Doris's clothing along with some nappies. Then she dressed her up in some warm clothing and a fawn-colored cloak. Before she left home, she made sure that she hadn't forgotten the agreed-upon payment of £10. And then Evelina and baby Doris set out for Gloucester railway station, where she had arranged to meet up with Mrs. Harding. And when Evelina arrived at the station, she spotted an older woman carrying a carpet bag. And this woman would turn out to be Mrs. Harding. Evelina's first thought when she saw Mrs. Harding was that she didn't really look like the type who would be in the market for an infant. She was much older than Evelina had imagined, but she was very kind, and she seemed genuinely happy to be taking Doris into her care. So after Evelina handed over the agreed upon payment of £10, she gave Doris one last long hug, and then she carefully handed her over to Mrs. Harding. Mrs. Harding, holding baby Doris, boarded the train, and that was it. Evelina would never see her daughter alive again. She had just unwittingly handed Doris over to one of the worst serial killers in Victorian England. Amelia Dyer, who had used several aliases over the last 30 years, including the name Mrs. Harding, was born Amelia Elizabeth Hobley in 1837 in Bristol. She was the youngest of 5 children, and her father was a
I'm going to just leave the mic on. I was on the road too. I mean, I was speaking some good content. I mean, it was sounding so good coming out of my mouth, and I was on the road. No, the audio is there. Now, let me say this again. The reason why I'm playing this content, y'all need to understand. Our job is to understand the mind behind Shelly. Why did Shelly go after Allie at such a early age? Why is it? Why can't Allie move without Shelly? Where you see Allie, you see Shelly. Wherever you see Shelly, you see Allie. Why did Shelly cause a havoc in the court system to get possession? Why is Shelly so possessive? Or possessed, or not possessed? Why is she so possessive of Allie? Why she want Allie so bad? She went through all that shit with her at a young age. At the age of 13, 14, 15, putting out false CPS reports. And by her putting it out there, she alleged that this stuff is real because she wrote it up. But what she's not telling people, the courts kicked her ass out. The people fired her and all this shit. I seen the video documentaries she made saying that the CPS or the system turned on her because they said she was overbearing to stop lying, okay? Stop lying. We know what happened. However, we have to, if we're going to talk about Shelly and Allie, we got to understand the mind that's behind it. Now, Allie's angels, right? I could be wrong. But this young lady in this photo right here that adopted this girl at such an early age end up killing the girl. Can I say this again? This lady, you finna hear it. This lady back in the 1800s adopted this little girl at an early. Are y'all starting to hear Allie's story now? Listen.
Her daughter alive again. She had just unwittingly handed Doris over to one of the worst serial killers in Victorian England. Amelia Dyer, who had used several aliases over the last 30 years, including the name Mrs. Harding, was born Amelia Elizabeth Hobley in...
Do Shelley use several aliases on different accounts, social media accounts? Do Allie use aliases? Tori Outlaw is her real name. She used Allie Carter. Alex, you said no sound. No, my sound is coming through. No. The sound is working. I can see it on my computer.
In 1837 in Bristol. She was the youngest
Shelley
of 5 children, and her father was a shoemaker. It's been reported that Amelia and her siblings watched as their mother struggled through various mental illnesses over the years and also, quote, fits of madness before her death. However, there has been some debate on whether or not that is actually the truth or just something that Amelia tried to use to her advantage during her trial. But we do know that her mother died in 1848 when Amelia was only 11 years old, reportedly from typhus. Then in 1861, at the age of almost 23, Amelia Amelia married a man named George Thomas, who was 56 years old at the time. On their marriage certificate, the couple lied about their ages, Amelia claiming to be 30 and George claiming to be 48. Amelia worked as a nurse at the Bristol Royal Infirmary, and in 1868 she met a midwife named Ellen Dane. And it was Ellen Dane who introduced Amelia to the baby farming industry. Ellen herself was involved in baby farming in addition to her career as a midwife. It was an easy source of income, and depending on the amount of babies you were willing to take in, it could be a very lucrative business. So Ellen taught Amelia all of the...
Did Shelley open up a group home for runaway sex trafficking teens? Did Shelley open up a group home for sexually trafficked or abused teens? Oh, okay.
The ins and outs of the industry, and later in 1868, Amelia started her own baby farming business. She would put ads in local newspapers advertising her home as a safe place for young women to come give birth, and then if they wanted to, they could leave the children in Amelia's care for a fee. And before long, there were lots of young women coming and going from Amelia and George's home, staying just long enough to give birth or to drop off their unwanted or illegitimate babies. In 1869, George Thomas died, leaving Amelia a widow. So in order to supplement her income,
do that say mental hospital? I'm gonna start paying y'all. Y'all got listen, y'all. I'm gonna start charging everybody $3 million to come on this live stream. If you want to see your boy Great Vibes, it's going to be $3 million a second. $3 million a second.
now that she was on her own, Amelia took a job at the Bristol Lunatic Asylum. This is very important because it's thought that during her time at the asylum, Amelia would closely study the patients, learning their mannerisms and behaviors, and she would use this knowledge to her advantage later on in the story. In December of 1872, at the age of 35, Amelia married a 27-year-old factory worker named William Dyer. William signed the marriage.
Did Allie say she got married at the age of 27? Did Allie say when she was 15 years old she got married? She married her boyfriend on a boat at the age of 27. He was 27. She was 15.
Certificate with an X instead of his signature, so it is thought that he was likely illiterate. Amelia and William had 2 children together. Mary Ann, who everyone called Polly, was born in 1873, and William Samuel was born in 1876. And having children of her own did not stop Amelia from baby farming. All throughout the 1870s, her business continued and it was booming. In order to cover her tracks and stay off the authorities' radar, it was necessary to move around frequently. Because remember, this is after the Margaret Water.
To stay off people radars, the authority radars, we have to move around frequently because the elites are chasing us. Okay.
Waters case, and so now the baby farming industry had been exposed. So Amelia would move her family all around the Bristol area, never staying in one place too long. And she would use various aliases as well, including Mrs. Stanfield, Mrs. Thomas, Mrs. Smith, and of course Mrs. Harding. On August 20th, 1879, an investigation into Amelia Dyer was opened after a doctor got suspicious when Amelia tried to register the death of an infant right after she buried another. The doctor had went straight to the coroner with his suspicions, and after digging a little deeper, the authorities discovered that there were actually at least 4 infant deaths in Amelia's home. And eventually, Amelia was put on trial for the suspicious deaths of these babies. Her story was that the babies had been temporarily given over to the care of 2 foster mothers, and they had become ill while in their care and died of natural causes. One of the deceased children was a 9-week-old girl named May Walters, and her body was actually still in Amelia's home at the time of the trial. The jury actually took a trip to Amelia's home to view May's body, which had been left out on a table in the parlor. The doctor who examined May after her death testified that he didn't find any wounds on her body, but he described her as being extremely emaciated, weighing only 6.5 pounds at 9 weeks old, and there was nothing in her stomach. The coroner called May's case one of the worst he had ever seen, and he referred to Amelia's baby farm as, quote, an infant's hell. Even with all of this proof that at the very least May had been neglected, the court had no solid evidence to prove that Amelia had caused any of the deaths. The infant mortality rate was very high at this time, so the idea of a baby dying from an illness was not far-fetched. So on August 29th, 1879, Amelia was found guilty, but only of breaking the 1872 Infant Life Protection Act by failing to register her business with the local police. She was given the harshest sentence that was allowed for that offense, but it was only 6 months of hard labor at the Shepton Mallet jail. The labor was very hard. The prisoners were forced to spend hours every day picking oakum, which oakum is tarred fibers used mostly in shipbuilding, at least back then, and this would cause their hands to blister and bleed constantly. It's been said that when Amelia was finally released from prison that she was a totally changed person. She seemed broken and she seemed like she had aged rapidly over the last 6 months. But did that stop her from continuing with baby farming? No. It didn't. In fact, she got worse. She knew she had to be more careful now. She could no longer register the deaths of these babies. It was going to raise too much suspicion. She was now known to the police and she was very afraid of returning to prison. She would have to change her MO, and that's exactly what she did. And even though she ramps up her crimes a lot after this, she did manage to escape any suspicions for the next 10 years. During that time, Amelia continued to place ads in various papers under various aliases, and she would take in all these babies, usually for a lump sum payment of 10 pounds. And Amelia was taking in tons of children, and she would get 10 pounds for each of them. So she was making a lot of money. When Amelia was released from the jail, she did try for just a short time to have a legitimate career. I believe she opened up a clothes washing business. Anytime she would try to find legitimate work, it would never last. Amelia's method of killing these children varied. Sometimes she would give them very large quantities of something called Godfrey's cordial. Godfrey's cordial was a drug that was bought over the counter back then, and it was used quite often as a sedative, usually to help children sleep. It was essentially just opium. It contained a mixture of opiates and alcohol called laudanum, which was then mixed with something sweet like a simple sugar and spices, something to make it more appealing to children. Most mothers back then would give their babies very small quantities just to get them to sleep, but Amelia gave the babies in her care high doses. So much so that sometimes it would keep them in a zombie-like state. And this had a huge negative impact on the infant's health because the opiates would suppress their appetite. And
how many times we saw Allie crash out on her lives? I showed y'all when she said she was in a hospital because of drug overdose that her pimp did to her. How about that video I showed y'all back in January of her? She was going through a withdrawal. She went from inside to outside, and she was standing next to a garbage can. She was standing next to a garbage can, and she couldn't even stand on her own 2 feet. And Shelly was filming the whole damn thing.
this would cause them to just eventually waste away. This is likely what happened with May Walters, and it would explain why she only weighed 6 pounds at 9 weeks old and the reason why her stomach was completely empty. Amelia herself had a very severe addiction to opiates. She had initially started taking laudanum for toothaches. She was said to have had very bad teeth and it caused her a lot of pain, so she would use the laudanum to kind of dull that. But by the 1890s, she was drinking up to 2 bottles of laudanum a day. So opiates were used occasionally to get rid of these children, but Amelia's preferred method of getting rid of these children was by strangling them. And she would do this by wrapping white sewing tape tightly around their necks. Then once the babies were no longer alive, she would then wrap them up in paper and fabric tied with twine, and then using a brick to weigh them down, she would typically throw them in a river. This went on for years without any significant issues until one day in 1890. A woman working as a governess had fallen pregnant by the son of a respectable family in Cornwall. The couple wanted to marry, but the man's family would not allow it because of the woman's status. So the woman had seen Amelia's ad in the paper offering her home as a place of confinement for expectant mothers. So she responded to the ad, and eventually she arrived at Amelia's home where she gave birth, and then she decided to leave her infant in Amelia's care. But not long after this, the family of the baby's father had finally relented and allowed their son to marry the governess. And now the couple was on Amelia's doorstep asking for their baby back. And Amelia was in a panic. She ended up coming up with a story that the baby had been adopted out by a woman that she had met at Bristol Temple Meads railway station. So with that tip, the couple sent out to search for this woman who had adopted their baby. But
when Miss Outlaw went to go look for Tori, Shelley went around telling everybody, hey, I adopted her. She's in my custody now. Here's the paperwork. But this is while they was on the run.
When they could not find this woman because she did not exist, the couple went to the police. And on October 1891, they all came knocking on Amelia's door. Police asked Amelia about the child, but in the end, nothing was done because they couldn't really prove that she had done anything. But now Amelia was freaking out because she knew that the police were back on her trail. So in response to this, Amelia tries to take her own life. This attempt resulted in nothing more than some minor scratches on her neck, but it was enough for her to be committed to Gloucester County Asylum on November 13th, 1891. And she remained there in the asylum until January 12th, 1892. And during her stay at the hospital, she was, talking nonsense, acting very strange, exactly the way a doctor would expect a patient to act. Now, a lot of people believe that this was all just an act, and Amelia had used her knowledge of mental illness that she had learned during her time working in an asylum in order to be committed and to stop further questioning about this missing child. And some people believe that she was acting strange because she was experiencing withdrawal symptoms from her opiate addiction. But whatever the case, it is very suspicious that Amelia continued to have mental breakdowns every time that couple came back asking more questions about their missing child. These people did not give up easily. They would find out where Amelia was living and they would show up to ask more questions. And this went on for years. And these visits were typically followed by another trip to the asylum. One time after a visit from that couple, Amelia's daughter had called the doctor to check on her mother's mental state. And when the doctor arrived at the home, Amelia grabbed a fireplace poker and tried to attack him with it. After the doctor managed to get the poker away from Amelia, she said that she was hearing voices telling her to harm herself and, quote, the birds said to do it. The doctor felt like this was proof that she was in need of another visit to the asylum, and off she went again. After one of Amelia's stays in the hospital in 1895, she was sent to the Barton Regis workhouse. It is thought that her husband left her around this time. Her son William had joined the service, so he was no longer around, and her daughter Polly had gotten married.
That is absolutely correct, Irene. So after we get done with this, the way we deal with Allie and Shelley, because I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Now y'all can look at it from a different light of what's going on here with this mental programming, this curse Shelley brought up on Allie.
Married to a man named Arthur Palmer. So Amelia was all alone when she was released from her latest hospital stay in 1895. And it's thought that this is why she was sent to Barton Regis Workhouse. And while she was there, Jessica, she went by the alias of Annie Smith. And if you know anything at all about workhouses in Victorian England, you know that they were pretty terrible places. However, this particular workhouse was said to be a little bit better than others. The workhouses were now kind of being monitored more closely. So Barton Regis was considered one of the better workhouses. And during her stay at Barton Regis, Amelia meets and befriends a 74-year-old woman named Jane Smith, who later became known as Granny Smith. Amelia convinced Granny Smith to leave the workhouse and come live with her at her home and help out with her baby farming business. Now, someone like Jane Smith, who was elderly and didn't have any family, would often remain in the workhouses until she died. So Granny jumped at this opportunity to leave the workhouse to go help Amelia with her business. Granny Smith and Amelia, who was still calling herself Annie Smith at this time, went to the town of Fish Ponds to stay for a while. And while they were in Fish Ponds, Amelia took in a 2-year-old boy named Bertie Palmer. One day, Amelia took little Bertie out for a walk in Eastville Park, and when she returned, Bertie was no longer with her. And later that day, Bertie was found wandering around the moors of Durham Downs all alone. An officer picked up the boy and visited Amelia's home in Fish Ponds, but she and Granny were not there. However, he did manage to speak to some of the neighbors, and he ended up finding out that not only had they adopted Bertie, but Amelia also had a 9-month-old baby in her care. And it was not long after this incident with Bertie that the first of many bodies were found floating in the river. This incident with Bertie actually put Amelia at the forefront of the officers' minds now. So when this baby was found in the river, they visited Amelia's home again in Fish Ponds. But at this point, she and Granny had already abandoned the property. But police went into the home to investigate anyways, just to see if they could find anything interesting. And they discovered at least 30 telegrams and several letters, all involving the adoption of different babies. And once they found all of these letters and telegrams, they knew that they needed to find this person. But at this point, they still believe that they're looking for someone named Annie Smith. So a warrant was put out for the arrest of Annie Smith. By this point, Amelia and Granny were long gone, and over the coming months, several more bodies would be discovered. Amelia and Granny moved in with Polly and her husband for a brief time at 26 Piggott's Road in Caversham before settling in another area of Reading. Here, Amelia changed her name to Mrs. Thomas, and the collection of babies continued. As time went on, Granny Smith became very suspicious of Amelia. Granny was said to be a kind, gentle woman who really cared for and loved the children that were always coming and going from the home. And she started to wonder why so many babies would disappear overnight. She would literally put the babies to sleep at night, and by morning they would just be gone. When Granny would question Amelia about this, she was told that the parents had just changed their mind and they had come to pick them up, or that she had adopted them out to other families. Granny would just go along with whatever excuse Amelia had given her, but things just didn't add up. If the children were really being adopted out or reunited with their families, then why were all of their belongings and clothing still at Amelia's home? It did not make sense to Granny, but at this point, Amelia had let her mask slip. She had lured Granny into the business using charm and sweet words and promising that the two of them would grow old together like sisters. But now she had become very cold and just mean towards Granny. So Granny was careful not to ask too many questions. Another thing that made Granny suspicious was that there was always a foul smell in the house that just seemed to never go away and just get worse day by day. When Amelia was ever asked about the smell, she would just pretend like she had no clue what they were talking about. Now, while all of these weird disappearances are happening in the Dyer house, 30 to 40 bodies have now been discovered in the River Thames. And since all of the victims were babies and their bodies seemed to be discarded in the same way, wrapped in paper and fabric and then thrown into the river, police assumed that this must be the work of baby farmers. But it would not be until March 30th, 1896 that they would finally find the clue that would lead them to the killer. On that day, a man named Charles Humphrey was working a barge on the River Thames near Reading. As he pulled the barge to shore, he spotted something floating in the river. It looked like a parcel wrapped in brown paper. So Charles and a fellow crewman roommate got off the barge and went and grabbed the package from the water. They untied the twine that had been tied around the parcel. Then they unwrapped the brown paper and cut through 2 layers of wet flannel fabric. And there they find the body of a baby girl who they placed at about 6 to 12 months old. The body was brought to the mortuary, and after further examination, they found white sewing tape wrapped around her neck. And then they found the clue that they needed. They found a very small portion of the paper that had been wrapped around the baby that had not been completely soaked yet. And on the paper, they can make out a name, a date, and an address. 10/24/1895, Bristol Temple Meads, Mrs. Thomas of 26 Piggott's Road, Caversham. So police took the paper to the Reading railway station and they asked around for any information that anyone might have about this parcel. And the clerk at the station not only remembered that the package had come from Bristol, but he also knew that the Mrs. Thomas they were looking for was actually an alias. And the woman's real name was Amelia Dyer, and she was currently living at 45 Kensington Road. It's so fortunate that the police decided to ask around at that railway station, because that clerk essentially solved the case with that one tip. Now, of course, when police go to talk to Amelia at 45 Kensington Road, she isn't there. But they did manage to speak to some of the neighbors. And one of them told police that she had given Mrs. Dyer some string on the same morning that the body had been pulled from the River Thames. And the string was identical to the type found around the body. So officers decided to set a trap for Amelia. On April 3rd, 1896, officers sent a woman over to Dyer's home to pretend that she wanted to hand a child over for fostering services. And this woman offered Amelia 50 pounds as payment. Of course, Amelia agreed to these terms, and she tells the woman to return back to her home with the payment and the child later that day. And at 3 p.m. that same day, officers arrived at the home of Amelia Dyer, and she was arrested. Living in the home with Amelia at that time was, of course, Granny Smith. Then there was an 11-year-old girl named Nellie Oliver, a 9-year-old boy named Willie Thornton, and a 3-month-old infant. There was also a lodger renting a room from Amelia. Her name was Mrs. Chandler, and she had her 2 daughters living there as well. And when they searched this house, there is so much incriminating evidence that's found. They find receipts from pawn shops where Amelia had pawned off tons of baby clothing. They found receipts from ads that she had placed over the years in various newspapers. They also found tape that was identical to the type that was found around the baby's necks. Then they find a treasure trove of letters written by the parents of Amelia's victims. After digging through all of the letters, the officers believed that they had discovered the identity of the baby girl. They believed that her name was Helena Fry, who was the illegitimate daughter of a woman named Mary Fry. Mary was a domestic servant who had gotten pregnant by a wealthy, well-known merchant, and she'd given birth and handed her baby over to Amelia on March 5th, 1896, along with her payment of 10 pounds. The baby had only been in Amelia's care for a few weeks before her body was found in the river. Now, remember that smell that we talked about earlier? Well, the officers notice it right away. And when they mention it to Mrs. Chandler, the lodger, she says that she's already complained about it several times to Amelia, but every time she brings it up, Amelia will just act like she doesn't know what she's talking about. And when the officers question Amelia about the smell, she says, "Oh, yeah, that's just from some old musty clothes. That's all that is." But there is no mistaking the stench of death, and these officers knew that smell very well. So they started investigating around the house to see where it's coming from. And they're led straight to Amelia's bedroom, where they find a large tin box, and it's locked. The officers pinpoint that this is the source of the smell. But when they open up the box and look inside, it was empty. However, there was evidence that a dead body had been inside of it recently. Now, if you've managed to keep up with all these dates that I've been throwing at you, then you've probably realized that between the discovery of Helena Fry's body in the river and the time of this search of the home, Amelia had met up with Evelina Marman to pick baby Doris up from the Gloucester railway station. That meeting occurred on March 31st, 1896, just one day after the discovery of Helena's body. So where is Doris? They've searched the house and they've found 3 children living there, but none of them are Doris. Well, it turns out that Doris likely died the same day that she was handed over to Amelia Dyer. Amelia was seen at the railway station with Doris still alive, but by the time an attendant helped her off the carriage in Swindon, the baby was gone. It's thought that Amelia killed Doris sometime during her trip, and then she hid her body in the carpet bag that she had with her when she met up with Evelina. The body Bodies just continued to be discovered even during the trial of Amelia Dyer. The locals had even started dragging the rivers in an effort to help the officials in the search. And on April 10th, 1896, two men who had been helping in the search discovered a carpet bag that was tied up with string. The bag had been submerged in the water, but as the men were dragging, they had managed to pull it up. And inside of the carpet bag were the bodies of two babies, one girl and one boy. They were taken to the mortuary where it was discovered that they had both been strangled. Using those documents that were found in Amelia's home, the police concluded that the babies were most likely a 13-month-old boy named Harry Simmons and a 4-month-old baby girl named Doris Marman. Evelina was visited by the police, and she was told that she had left her daughter in the care of a very bad person who was not to be trusted. Then she was told to come with them, and they led her to the mortuary to identify her daughter. But up to that point, Evelina had not been told that her daughter was dead. So when she saw Doris's body, she became completely hysterical, and she just kept saying that Doris had been in perfect health when she had left her. Evelina identified Doris's body, and she was also shown a collection of baby clothing that had been taken from Amelia's home and her daughter Polly's home. And Evelina was able to identify that fawn-colored cloak that Doris had been wearing when she last saw her. Polly's own child had been wearing it. Harry Simmons was also identified by the woman who had been caring for him at the time before she placed him in Amelia's care. Harry's birth mother was not in the picture, but her friend.
Y'all, all I can say is wow. All I can say is wow. Wow, wow, wow. Right now, I'm finna do a mod break for everybody that's coming in. When I upload this video to YouTube, I suggest you to rewind this shit. Yeah, y'all, this shit is sick. This shit is sick. All right, let's continue.
Amelia Hannah Sargent had been given custody of him. But since Sargent had a very large family of her own and her family did not have much money, she had made the decision to put Harry up for adoption. And that's when she saw and responded to one of Amelia's ads in the Weekly Dispatch newspaper. In this ad, Amelia went by the name of Mrs. Thomas. Several witnesses were called out during Amelia's trial. One of them was Amelia's older brother, James Hobley. He told the court that he hadn't seen Amelia in over 35 years, and he also said that there was no history of insanity in their family like Amelia had claimed about her mother. Then he said, quote, "Amelia is a total stranger to me." Both Mrs. Sargent and Evelina Marman took the stand to give testimony against Amelia Dyer during her trial. This was a very big deal for Evelina, especially because by testifying, she was admitting that she had been an unwed mother openly in court, with journalists noting every single word. But she knew she had to do this for Doris and for all of the other babies and women who were taken advantage of by this absolute monster. And she wanted to make sure that Amelia Dyer would never be able to do this to anyone else. And that's exactly what she and the other witnesses accomplished. On June 10th, 1896, Amelia Dyer was led to the gallows with a mob of people waiting outside. Public executions were no longer a thing at this point, so Amelia was to be hanged within the prison walls. The executioner who carried out Amelia's hanging, his name was James Billington, and according to the book I read on this case, he was said to be, quote, fascinated by hanging from an early age. Is that weird? Let me know what you think, because that seems concerning to me. As Amelia was led to her death, she was very distraught and had to be physically supported by the guards. And as the clock struck 9 a.m. and the church bells rang out, Amelia Dyer was hanged to death. After the doctor confirmed that Amelia was dead and the jury got to view her body, she was buried on the prison property. It's believed that Amelia's victim count is well into the hundreds, but sadly, we'll never know an actual number. Granny Smith returned to the workhouse after the trial, and Evelina Marman seemed to just sort of fade out of existence. There are no records of her after the trial. And Harry and Doris were buried together in Reading Old Cemetery. Some charges were brought against Polly and her husband Arthur, who were both thought to be a part of this baby farming operation in some way, but nothing really came of it. However, 2 years later, in September of 1898, Polly and Arthur placed an ad in the newspaper advertising advertising their desire to adopt a baby, and they ended up with a 3-week-old baby girl. They were paid £12 in adoption fees, and then on September 12th, the baby girl was found abandoned under a carriage seat. Luckily, she was still alive and in decent condition, and the police were able to eventually link her back to Polly and Arthur, and they were both sentenced to 2 years of hard labor. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that they were involved in Amelia's business, at least to some extent. In another grim discovery in 1906, a man named Walter Hawks found the bodies of 5 children buried in the garden of his home in fish ponds. The man later learned that his home had once belonged to now infamous baby killer Amelia Dyer. And that was the very disturbing case of the Victorian-era baby farm murders. I know that
some of the children that are there.
Babies. There's a baby farm that exists. There's all ages. There's kids who don't act like kids. They act like wild animals. They hiss at you. They act like wild animals. They've never, I know some of them have been there since probably birth or before. There's children of all ages. There's people who have been there since they were babies, but they're adults now.
And how long do they stay there? Till what age?
I don't know. Till whatever happens to them happens, and whatever their time is. There's baby farms that exist underground. Your hospitals are complicit in giving babies to baby farms. And when I say, I'm talking newborn babies fresh out of the hospital, that people take pride in raping, having sex with, hearing their bones crack, eating, using them to participate in rituals. I've seen a lot of things, and I've seen a lot of my friends die. There's so much that goes on.
Yeah, when I listened to this clip last night, when I was watching this video, the documentary with this baby farming, as y'all can see, that is modern day adoption, right? However, Allie has told people for years that she was with this baby farming. That happened over 150 years ago. Listening to this documentary, where this young lady was taking in kids, unaliving kids, using thread and twine, and tying them down so they can fall to the bottom of the river. This was after she choked them or strangled them to death. How can this woman fix her mouth to say she was there with those kids? How can she say she was there with those kids? All I can do is just hear when a parent go look for their child, these parents looked and looked, and this crazy ass lunatic woman said that she adopted out the children to other parents, which come to find out that never happened. Shelly is a monster. And I'm not talking about on the outside. It's what she practices. She always talk about rituals. And she talks about MK Ultra. She speaks on all this horrendous stuff that Allie's supposed to went to, like at the Diddy party. How she sit there and watch different rituals being done in tunnels. That baby farming, y'all. This shit is dark, y'all. This shit is dark. This shit is dark. If you learn something today, put a 1 in the chat. Because if y'all don't learn anything, I'm not doing my job as a content creator. Put a 1 in the chat. We got 40 people watching. 8 people responded. Thank you, Mama, for formidable. So you said great vibes. You stopping now? I'm coming for you. Ain't no stopping now. Listen, it's 2 segments to this. The first one is the baby farming. I had to educate y'all on that. So when I start with my second segment, it's only going to be between 45 minutes now, between 45 minutes to an hour from now. Okay? Because I have 6 different clips I need to show y'all of Allie running her mouth. I'm not going to say about what. Her running her mouth and how it's going to tie into this story right here. But then we're going to go into the underground. All right? But I have to split this up for YouTube purposes. Yes, the story was hijacked. The whole baby farming stuff was baby farming that Allie Carter says she experienced was hijacked. From the British natives back in the 18th and the 8th during the 18th century. I do apologize. During the 18th century. But Allie said she was there. She watched her friends die. The fuck? And the sad part about it, the fucking interviewers don't even ask her questions. They just let her talk. They don't say nothing. Now, every video I run across with Allie from the past, I'm breaking the video down. I'm listening for keywords and key phrases. And that's what I'm going to, that's what I go research, right? And I bring this information back to you all. If I was doing this live right here on TikTok, my page would have been shut down. Amy, how you doing? That's right. I am just fan. That is correct. That is absolutely correct. So this is what I need y'all to do. Click that notification bell. Y'all give me time to set up the part 2, okay? Because I got to get in all the stories and everything in the video clips. Give me time. Click that notification bell. It's going to be a part 2 to this today. All right? Let me set everything up, and I'll see y'all shortly, okay? Everybody that came in, thank y'all so much for tapping it live. If you're new, go back and watch this shit. Go back and watch it. Watch this bullshit. Shelly is a fucking... Listen, when Allie go live now from now on, and you hear Shelly's voice, now you can hear the voice, the actual voice speaking through Shelly. You can hear the demon that's speaking through Shelly. Remember I told y'all energy never dies, energy transfers. It's some bullshit. This some bullshit. This is some real bullshit. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking. This is some real bullshit. How the fuck? And nobody never questioned Allie. Y'all, I'm thinking. Nobody never questioned Allie when she talked about this baby farm. Nobody never, hey, how old were you when you was there? How old were you? No, man, look. If y'all want to donate to the YouTube channel, there's a cash button at the bottom. You could do that. If not, you could tap that screen. But I'm about to shut it down just for very shortly so I can set up part 2. Also, if you don't want to give here, you can give on my Cash App, which is Great Vibes on 10. If you have any information, y'all, I got to give a shout out to Liz. I'm glad I thought of that. Liz, are you still here? Liz, are you still here? So, Fat Boo, that's why I played that's why I played this documentary. As y'all can see, these stories are so identical with Shelly and Allie. I got to give shout outs to Liz, y'all. This young lady right here. This young lady donated to the channel. And I'm going to tell y'all, she gave a very generous donation. Why? It's because she have said she learned so much from this Allie and Shelly Carter story. She she was spiritually directed to come and find my fucking channel. Y'all, we do know it's so many children that's are kidnapped, that's being killed, that's being tortured, that's being I said this already, murdered. They are in homes where they shouldn't be. We know this stuff is taking place. But with this story, we are finding out that Shelly is the actual kidnapper. When you hear Allie speak, she's speaking the stories of Shelly. Ain't no motherfucking baby farming going on underground. Baby farming don't even work like that. Now y'all understand the working, right? Baby farming don't even work like that. That's one. Number two, baby farming doesn't exist anymore. Then you're going to have the Karens that's going to come on here. Well, how you know? I heard it was more baby farms. Motherfucker, from who? Did you see baby farms? Granted, great vibes, I never seen such. But what I will do is pick up pen and paper, take some notes, and go do some motherfucking research versus speaking off my motherfucking feelings. Because somebody say something doesn't make it real. Hell, this article can be fake. This video I just showed you all of this young lady reading this article, what I just showed you all. Everything that she explained could be fake. But the same shit she talking about, that's this article right here. That's this article. Okay? This is what she was reading up on. And I'm going to tell y'all, right? When it comes to Victoria, listen, all this shit happened over there in Britain. The baby farming happened over in Britain, Great Britain. So when I say, hey, they are telling other people's stories, if y'all scroll through my comments on TikTok, if you scroll through the comments on Facebook, people are showing their ass. Y'all, they are showing their ass because I'm doing my own fucking research. People are mad at me. Y'all, they are brutal in the It's social media, though. You don't hurt a motherfucking thing by a comment. It's social media. But over here, you're going to get educated. But y'all, make sure you hit that notification bell. If you have not watched this part yet, rewind it back to the beginning and watch it. You will be blown away. And now you will understand the relationship with Shelly and Allie. And I'm talking about at the beginning phases of it. We ain't talking about the dating stages. We ain't talking about that yet. Or allegedly, Tory. When you ask people where are the children, Tory Outlaw, Allie Carter, where is yours? Wait till I do that live stream. I'm still gathering information. Wait till I do that live stream. email me, Tori or Shelly. Email me at greatvibeson10@gmail.com so we can talk this shit out. Until then, I'm going to keep bringing up information off the shit your ass put on the internet. Fat Boo, thank you so much. Liz, hold on. Pamela said, wow, this was a lot to stomach. Yes, it was. It was a lot. A lot of sick shit. Thank you, Pamela. I'm glad y'all are seeing. All right. All right, y'all. I'll be back. Give me about an hour. Let me set the next segment up. Give me something to eat. And I'm gonna start the next one up. All right. So for everybody hell no. For everybody that came in, what the fuck am I doing? For everybody that came in, I want to thank y'all so much for this first part. After that, y'all, this your boy Great Vibes on 10 for the win, and I will see y'all very shortly.